joined with Lucy Waters, who is the Managing Director of Aria Finance. So welcome today, Lucy. Lucy, we've known each other now for quite a long time and have worked together. It's got to be maybe 11 or 12 years.
It's a really long time.
It's got to be at least that time. So I'm doing this series for women in property, and you've done some amazing things in your career. So I thought it was really, really important to share your experience with other women out there that are kind of thinking of getting on this crazy journey sometimes. So what, Lucy, was your first move in property and what inspired it?
Do you know, I think that everybody that ends up in property finance, mortgage finance, the answer is nearly always the same, that I fell into it. Okay. So I didn't wake up one day and say, I really want to be in property finance. I just think I was so fortunate to find an opportunity that showed me the industry and gave me the bug for it. Otherwise, I'm just not sure I would have ended up there. I came out of college, I decided that I didn't want to continue doing what I was doing at college. It wasn't for me. Mm-hmm. And a friend of mine was working in a mortgage company and just said, why don't you come for an interview? Which I did, got the job, and I just loved it. I loved the diversity of it and all the different scenarios that you see and the challenge of it.
Okay, it's amazing. So did you kind of go in straight from college at that stage, and what sort of entry level, like what did you go into?
I was 17 years old.
Wow.
And I was earning, I don't even think my salary was £12,000. It was like somewhere between 10 and £12,000.
I think mine was probably about 8 to 10 back then as well.
And I was doing an admin role. I was like opening envelopes and photocopying, and then I started doing like credit searches and helping put together applications and just reviewing documentation and helping to build an application for customers. So there would be somebody that was advising on it. That definitely wasn't me. And then there would be the whole admin team, and I was kind of learning the ropes from the bottom up. And actually that's something that in our business, we get a lot of people coming in those entry-level positions, and we teach them everything right from the start, and they often turn out to be our best people, because actually you learn so much by doing that kind of foundation level and seeing so many scenarios.
And I love that, learning on the job. That's always been me. That works for me. So for anyone that thinks that you might kind of have restrictions, it's lovely to know that there are businesses like yours that will actually take somebody on and give them that chance and learn from the ground upwards. So that's amazing. So did you face any barriers sort of starting out? Obviously being a young female, it must have been quite difficult.
Yeah, do you know what I did? And it's very different to what it is now. I think that there's much better opportunity for women in our sector. It is still very male dominated, but when I started, so I was working for a business until I was 18, and then I set up on my own. And I remember I'd be in a room, a very male-dominated room, and I always felt like I had to work that bit harder. But it wasn't just that I was female, I was also young. So I think that's another barrier that people face, age and gender. And I think that back then, it was unusual to have women in senior roles. There was, if we went to award ceremonies, there would be very few women there at all. And the women that were there were often like assistants and administrators, etc. So it's changed a lot since then. Yeah. But I think just generally throughout my career in different times, I've had to kind of go that little bit further at the beginning to prove I'm credible. But once people accept that you're credible, then I feel like that barrier does get stripped down a little bit. So it wasn't really difficult.
It was just finding a way to overcome that. And yeah, no, absolutely. You were so young, weren't you? That's quite incredible.
It was young, yeah.
But listen, it didn't do any harm.
No, I got started early. That's the way I look at it.
Exactly the same as me. So another question really is, what are you most proud of in your journey, in finance?
That's a really good question, because there's, I suppose, so many different ways to answer that. Is it personal pride in what I've done or pride in kind of what we've collectively done as a business. So I suppose if I start with my own personal journey, I think reaching a point where the business was seen as like a super credible business in the market, and underpinning that by having sold it to private equity in 2016, to go through that process isn't easy. And, doing rounds of presentations and everything that goes with it, it's not easy. And actually, you're dealing with some really smart people. And there was always that fear in me at the time. Is it going to be enough? Am I going to be able to prove myself and articulate myself enough? And I think by achieving that back in 2016, that felt like a real personal badge of honour to me, because it went from being, it still is a small business, but a small business that wasn't recognised with that kind of extra layer of credibility.
Yeah, it's huge.
To a real
achievement.
Step up. And then really just in terms of, as I look around and I see the team and the divisions that we have in the business and the expertise, I'm proud to say that we've given people lots of opportunities to have really successful careers, because we've got some amazing advisors and support staff in our business.
No, you really do.
So that also fills me with pride.
No, and it should. That's amazing. So tell me, why should more women get into property as well? What do you think the reasons should be? I mean, whether it's working, in the sector, or maybe women that are thinking of embarking on that property journey.
That's a good one. I think it depends really what part of the sector and what somebody is looking for. I think if you're in property itself, there is definitely an argument for being the master of your own destiny, and for those women who are inclined to start a family and be able to make that balance work. I think I see a lot of people in property who can really kind of find their way without being tied to an office 9 to 5:30. And just generally, I think that women bring a different skill set in many ways to men. And it's not to say it's better or worse, but I think there's a real value out there, a lot with the empathy and the way in which women see things. I think that diversity brings a lot to the sector. Yeah. And I think it can be really rewarding. I think that the ceilings are quite easy to burst through, and the barriers to entry are relatively low if you are hardworking and you're prepared to do the research and really understand what it is you want to do and learn that market inside out. Yeah,
and I think as well, you're absolutely right. It's that kind of giving that option of that flexibility, and that can go two ways. You might have two of you, at home, you might have little ones, and actually, sharing those sort of careers and maybe being a bit more flexible, and one that can stay at home a bit more and one can go, so I think it kind of gives you a little bit of choice. I know it's certainly for us that did, and I know you are a very busy working mummy as well. So I think that's a really good point in that, in terms of that flexibility and, kind of having that control of your own destiny is really important.
Yeah, and I think also it makes it worthwhile if you're away from you've got children, you're away from them in the day and you're working hard and you're in an office. I think to have the reward at the end of it, that you're creating a nice life for your family, because like I say, I think the opportunity is huge. So it's just a sector that actually can serve your family really well in the long run as well. And I think it's something that women are very good at.
Yeah, it's organised.
Organised, absolutely, yeah.
So a question I'm going to ask you now, this series is called Rise Women in Property. And I'm going to ask you, what's your rise factor, and what makes you rise as a woman in property, Lucy?
Rise in what way? So
in terms of maybe what your kind of, where you felt like, your rise up moment was, that you kind of, thought yes, or your inspiration for kind of wanting to go to that next level and beyond it. Like what gives you that inspiration?
I think just generally as a person, I always want to better myself. So I think that partly in my nature, and I'm not sure if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but even when I kind of hit milestones that at one point I'd have been really pleased with, you know, if you had told me 10 years ago you'd be doing this, and 10 years prior to that you'd be doing that, I would have been absolutely delighted. And I get there and it doesn't feel enough, and I feel like I can do more, and I want to do more, and I want to prove myself. And interestingly, it's not all financial. Like I do enjoy the fact that there's great opportunity in this sector, but actually that whole credibility and making something of yourself and showing myself that I can actually means as much to me as the financial aspects as well.
Yeah, I totally get that, and I love that. And it's you know, it's just pushing yourself to be the best that you can be
in whatever role you're doing.
It is.
I always say that to our guys.
And making a difference, and you know, you've created a wonderful team, and watching them thrive, and I totally get that.
I interviewed somebody for a sales role, and it's her first job in our sector, and she was talking a lot about progression and her ambition, which I really love. And I said that that's so great to hear that you've got your eye on what you want and where you want to go, but it's so important that you focus also on being the very best that you can be in what you're doing, because I think some people get so caught up on where they should be, where they want to be, and where other people are, that they forget to focus on just being the absolute best at what they do. I think that's just so crucial.
That's a really, really good piece of advice. I'm going to start listening to that myself. Lucy, it's been a pleasure having you on here today, and you know, I've watched your journey grow, and you know, I'm really inspired by you, and I think you should be really proud of what you've achieved. So, you know, keep it going and be the best that you can be, and that's going to be my mantra now. So
thank you, Tracey. It's been so lovely to talk to you today.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you soon.